Okay, I have to get it out. Kerry Washington is in the house, and Pilar Savone. We are just thrilled to have both of you here today. That was a very powerful clip from American Son, which debuts on Friday.
Yes, on Netflix.
So can you, for the audience, give us an idea of who Kendra Ellis Connor is in the film and the plot of the movie?
Sure. So American Son takes place in the lobby of a police precinct in Florida. I play Kendra Ellis Connor, who is recently separated from my husband. My husband is white, I'm obviously black, and we are there because we are desperately looking for our 18-year-old son who has just gone missing. He's had some kind of altercation with the police, but we don't know what. And so the whole play, and now film, television event, takes place in real time in those 90 minutes as we're looking for Jamal.
Now, you just stated it started as a play on Broadway, debuted about a year ago.
Yeah.
And has reached a small screen in less than a year. Did you have the TV or movie version of it in mind when you went into production on the play?
We did. When we were searching for financing for the play, as Kerry was pitching it, we realized that this is also something that could be seen on TV. And I think we also felt like this was such an important story for people to see. Not everybody has access to Broadway, so it felt like being able to show it on a platform like Netflix worldwide, where everyone could see it, felt like a really great home for it.
Yeah, there was this really interesting narrative happening as we started to do press for the play, and we were already in talks to transform it at that point, but there were people responding saying that there was an economic barrier to seeing a play on Broadway, and we tried to do discount tickets, but there's still going to be an economic barrier for most people, and also a geographical barrier that not everybody can fly to New York, can get to New York. I have amazing fans who did fly in to see the play, but not everybody can do that. So to be able to have this narrative now live globally on the Netflix platform, all the people on social media that were saying, we have these issues in Paris, we have these issues in Sao Paulo, we have these issues in London, those folks now have access to this story.
Now, American Son hits on just numerous topics and takes us on a roller coaster journey. We talk about race, unconscious bias, the role of people and communities of color and their relationship with the police. And in the movie, you also talk about the talk. Quick poll, who knows what the talk is? Okay, so we have a few hands up. Kerry, can you explain what the talk is?
Sure, I mean, what's commonly referred to as the talk is the idea that parents of color have the responsibility at some point to sit their kids down and explain how, I've seen all the people of color in the audience nodding, and explaining what you do when you're pulled over by the police. What is appropriate behavior when encountering law enforcement? Because parents of color understand that this is always a situation that could become fatally tragic. So it is important to be having these conversations. I think in addition to the issues that you brought up, the film also explores how we cross these cultural divides. I mean, while this is kind of a nightmare of every parent's worst nightmare, whether you're a parent of color or not, right? If you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and you don't know where your teenager is, that is a state of panic. It is, of course, exponentially complicated when you're the parent of a child of color. But as we're descending into that nightmare, we're also very much in the film taking part in the unfolding of a love story between this white man and this black woman who love each other desperately and are trying to find the right language to communicate, trying to figure out how to cross the cultural divide, to figure out if they have a shot. And I think that's one of the things that people have said to us is so exciting about the film, is that it's a lot of private conversations that white people are having with white people and black people are having with black people, but in the film, people are opening themselves up to have these conversations with each other, and it's not easy, and it feels, you know, like you're an uncomfortable fly on the wall in situations that you can't believe, conversations you can't believe are happening, but it's people bravely trying to go outside their comfort zone to figure out how to have these larger exchanges.
Well, what I found interesting is that you partnered with the Opportunity Agenda to create a guide of questions. Can you expand on that?
Yeah.
So we partnered with the Opportunity Agenda to help create conversation. And what we did when we were doing the play is we had 2 or 3 conversations immediately after a performance where we had a moderator and Kerry and the director and the cast, and we opened it up to the audience to talk about the issues. And with Netflix, we've been doing it this last week across the United States. We did one in Miami, Chicago, Los Angeles, and last night here in New York. And what's amazing is the way that people are expressing themselves after they see this play. In Los Angeles, 2 women, a black woman and a white woman, both went into the ladies' room right after the play, and they just hugged each other. The play just has an effect on you, whether you are a man, a woman, black, white, and it makes you think. And that's what's really exciting about this, is people that normally wouldn't watch this are watching it and they're learning something from it. And I think that that's really what our goal is when we're creating content, is to create conversation. And the Opportunity Agenda was really helpful in helping us build that space.
They also built out a discussion guide that went into every playbill in the theater, and that had never happened before. The Schubert organization had never allowed anyone to put a discussion guide into a play, but we felt it was almost irresponsible to put this performance out into the world and to not give people tools to be able to have the conversation. So we built the discussion guide, and the discussion guide now lives online, and the link to the discussion guide appears in the credits for the film. So we're really trying to give people a framework by which they continue to have this conversation.
You know, it begins with talking.
Yeah.
This year, you know, we had When They See Us debut, and now we have American Son. Are we ready to have this frank discussion, or are we still looking past each other and playing it safe? And as a result, we're not seeing the representation we need to see in the senior ranks in corporate America, or in the top ranks in the entertainment industry, or in the tech industry, for example.
I think we're at a moment of asking people for courage. I think that question in itself presumes a level of privilege. To say, are we ready to have the conversation, when we just said 5 minutes ago that it's a necessity for black parents to have a conversation that is difficult, presumes that only certain sections of our population should carry the burden of having difficult conversation. So what we really try to do is create content that allows all of us to reflect on how we fit into the problem, but also how we fit into the solution. I think it's really exciting when you watch content like this, that everybody in the audience has moments where they see themselves. Again, doesn't matter if you're black, white, male, female, young, old, because there are 4 very different personalities in the film who are all expressing a level of truth that is sometimes shocking. People see themselves in this film. They also have an opportunity to hear and see other people. And I think right now we're at a moment where we're starting to realize, you know, we often stay in our siloed communities. We watch the news networks that give us the information we want to hear the way we want to hear it. We engage in conversation with people that share our political views, and when somebody expresses something different, we walk out of the room, laugh it off, don't engage. And I think a lot of what's happening in the film is we're watching characters courageously be willing to be uncomfortable. I think there's often, we've talked about this even in the office, there's this sense in the world that we have to create safe spaces, and what safe space means is that everybody's supposed to be comfortable all of the time. And I think there's a spin on that. I think really what a safe space is, and it's important that we have this in our personal spaces and in our work environments, a safe space is somewhere where we commit to being uncomfortable, and we choose to stay and listen and share honestly. And that's how we create a space where everybody has the room to be who they really are. So yes, you know, are we having the tough conversations? Not always. Should we? Yes, because if you want to, for me as a CEO of my corporation, if I want to benefit from the diverse voices that I've hired to work in the office, to develop content for me, to build out programming, if I want all of that talent to be able to express themselves with clarity and courage, then I have to create a space where sometimes I'm going to be uncomfortable, sometimes they're going to be uncomfortable, but we're going to stay and we're going to figure out how to work together to make the best possible product.
Good point. I want, before we move on and talk about some of your upcoming projects, can you share how the two of you joined forces with Simpson Street, and then we'll go into some of the new projects you're working on.
Sure.
So I produced Django Unchained for Quentin Tarantino, and Kerry was obviously in it.
Pilar was nominated for an Oscar for producing Django Unchained. She's being humble. Yeah.
We became friendly on
Yes.
the movie, and then afterwards we were developing a feature film together, which ended up not moving forward. And through that, I think we started to work together in a different way, creatively, and we became closer. And then she started Simpson Street, and lucky for me, she said to me, "Would you like to come and do this with me?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Now, you had 7 successful seasons on Scandal.
I did.
As Olivia Pope.
Yes.
And how has that experience encouraged you and motivated you to start your own production company and now become a content creator yourself?
Yeah. I actually wound up being a producer on the final 2 or 3 seasons of Scandal. I can't remember. But I think in many ways, like a lot of us, I had a mentor in Shonda Rhimes, and she set such a powerful example for what leadership could look like for a woman, for a Black woman. It became, you know, there's that saying, if you can see it, you can be it. And I was really inspired by Shonda. And also I realized how empowered I was as an actor on her set, because the people in charge spoke a language that was a shared language. I think for most of my career, I was very aware of having to translate my culture to my bosses. And this was one of the first times that I really understood how we are all served by having diversity and inclusivity at the highest levels. And I thought, who am I to walk away from that opportunity? So when the opportunity presented itself, the first film that my company produced was Confirmation for HBO. It was a story about the Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas hearings. And when that opportunity presented itself, I leapt at it. I think I've always been a producer at heart in everything I've done. And I think, like a lot of women, I realized I needed to kind of lean in and make sure that I was getting the credit, both financially and in terms of title, because I was doing the work. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how does it feel now to be in the position to greenlight projects? I know you've been a long time producer, but the importance of having a woman and women in seats of leadership in Hollywood, and how will that eventually change the narrative of how we see women, how we see other communities that are typically underrepresented?
I think it's really important. I mean, I think Little Fires Everywhere is a really great example of Kerry and Reese Witherspoon really using their experience and their leverage in this business to go to ABC Studios and go to Hulu and say, we want to produce this. And they allowed us the space to hire a very female-driven crew, very diverse. We, as our leaders, we were able to follow in their footsteps, knowing what we all wanted to do, and that's important for us. And I think Hollywood is leading that pact. I mean, it's interesting because it's one of the first things, if you're looking for a writer or you're looking for a crew member, agents, everybody is saying, I'm assuming you would like a woman, or I'm assuming you'd like a person of color. It's the first thing that people are thinking of. And that's refreshing.
Yeah, and I think for us, we try to operate kind of in the Rooney law, the Rooney rules, where we want to interview everybody. We just want to make sure that our candidate pool is diverse. We're gonna, we made a pilot last year that was about a Black family, a Black Christian family, and it was a comedy. And so we made sure that we interviewed women of color, men of color. I mean, we interviewed a very wide range of candidates. We wound up hiring Fred Savage, who's a white Jewish guy, to direct this comedy pilot for us. He was the best one for the job. So for us, and we knew that there were other places that we could leverage diversity and have inclusivity, but we want to make sure that the candidate pool is wide and that we lean toward excellence.
Definitely. I want to switch gears slightly. I wasn't sliding into your DMs, but I was strolling through your Twitter feed. And I saw that you retweeted that you'll be in Virginia on Sunday knocking on doors for Get Out the Vote efforts.
Yeah.
So can you expand on that?
Sure, I am. I'm going to be in Virginia and Michigan this weekend, 2 states where there's a lot of eyes on these states. There's been a lot of changes in voting policy in these places, and to be totally honest, sometimes when political issues unfold in this country, I get a lot of messaging on my social media networks that says, Olivia Pope, you have to fix this. Olivia Pope, save the day. And what has started to occur to me is that we have a really unfortunate hero worship in our politics here, where we expect that one person is supposed to swoop in and save the day. And in fact, how democracy works is that we each have to be the hero of our own community and our household. We have to show up and have that voice. It's funny because in terms of content, that's how we think at Simpson Street also is. We can no longer look at our heroes as one kind of person, that every kind of person, every person is the hero of their own life, of their own story, and how do we lean into those stories that are untold. But in the political work, I've decided to kind of focus my efforts on getting people to understand that they are at least as important as Olivia Pope, if not more so, because they're real people who have voting rights. So just trying to go places and encourage people to own their power, feel their power, act on their power, so that we're not just kind of complaining or frustrated or feeling disenfranchised, but that we're really showing up and owning power in our communities, regardless of where we fall on the spectrum. For me, it's a nonpartisan issue in terms of having the right to vote and access to vote. Okay,
I'm gonna ask a question. Feel free to respond how you may. We are a year away from the presidential election. Is there a candidate top of mind for you, or you're agnostic at this point?
Do you have an answer?
I don't have an answer yet.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the focus is really on empowering communities. I think there are lots of great candidates out there, but I do really want us to, I mean, it's why I'm going to Virginia and Michigan this weekend. There's all this focus on 2020, but both of those states have elections this November 5th. And I really want people to understand that in these off years, it matters, you matter, that showing up and participating in these local elections, that's how we really make change in our communities. So right now, my candidate is the American people, and making sure that we really have the choice, that we really have the power to vote, that voting is fair, that voting is equal, and that we're able to have the leaders that are in power reflect who we really are as a country.
Definitely. Well, we are at Sooner Than You Think, so let's talk a little bit about tech investing and where you are. You have recently invested in The Wing, along with some of the other co-founders and leaders of Time's Up. Can you expand on why you decided to invest in that startup?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, I think one of the most powerful changes that has happened in Hollywood for Time's Up, because it's really important, I like to remind people that we didn't found Time's Up to make Hollywood a better place. We really founded Time's Up to ensure equity and safety in all workplaces, in all industries. We just happen to be incredibly visible. But I think one of the important things that's happened with Time's Up is that many women in the entertainment business used to be siloed. And we were told these myths about each other. That one is difficult. That one is crazy. Don't work with her. And now that we have this community of sisterhood, we are finding the power in partnerships. I mean, we have projects with Eva Longoria, where she's directing her first feature. We have projects with Reese Witherspoon. We have projects with Rashida Jones. And all of those are relationships that were really fostered because of Time's Up. So that is really important and powerful. What was your question?
Why did you decide to invest in The Wing?
Oh, and The Wing is another example of kind of connecting with women through Time's Up Tech and Time's Up Sports. There's really a sisterhood, and we're having a lot of conversations on a lot of levels. Even like, hey, Ashton Kutcher has been doing this tech investing thing for a long time. Like, where's the female Ashton Kutcher?
That is true.
Where is the woman or the woman of color or both? Where are we stepping forward to make sure that we are allowing our wisdom as advisors, as investors, as partners to support these businesses and grow these businesses and make sure that female founders or even just tech innovation that benefits women, whether it's founded by women or not, that it is feeling our support and that we're benefiting. So it's been a commitment of mine to learn in that space, to grow in that space with companies like The Wing and also community. Can
you expand on community? You created a social media frenzy about 2 months ago, posting your phone number. Does anyone want it? Okay.
It's 718-400-7118. And I picked 718 because I'm from the Boogie Down Bronx here in New York.
That's right. So can you expand on what is community and why you decided to invest in this app?
Sure, so community is really a platform that allows more direct communication with folks. So the elevator pitch would kind of be a MailChimp for texting, but it's much more than that because it allows me to engage with fans on a one-to-one basis. It allows me to have a level of community and conversation that is not based on someone else's algorithms and priorities in their tech infrastructure. So I love social media. I'm very grateful to social media. We rely on social media, not just to promote our projects, but we have a series on Facebook Watch called 5 Points. We're really proud of it. It was actually the first narrative series on that platform. But I also am always looking for ways to innovate and create more transparency and intimacy within that social media space. And community allows me to do that. It allows me to have real conversations with fans.
And also meet them.
Yeah,
we've also, as we've had these screenings the past couple weeks, and when we went to Toronto, she was able to invite 2 people from Toronto to come sit in the theater, watch American Son, and meet you afterwards.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
could
not
text
just texting.
and say, I'm going to be in Toronto. Are you coming to the screening? I'd love to meet you backstage. And we've been able to do that in all the cities that we've been in with the film.
Okay, I know you're very active on social, and during Scandal, you would live tweet during episodes. So does community kind of give you that satisfaction?
Yeah, I miss
that engagement?
that. I miss that sense of community that we had every Thursday night with Scandal, and community allows me to be engaged with fans, really also to give back, right? Like we are aware that our product relies on engagement. Our product relies on audience. And so we're always looking for ways to reward our audience for being a part of our community.
Definitely. Well, as we come to a close, we are before a very influential audience here. And Pilar, we'll start with you. What can everyone in this room do to improve opportunities for women and people of color? Is it investing in women-led startups? Is it hiring more people that don't look like them or went to the same school? What can this group do?
I mean, I think it's individually what you all believe that you can do. For us, it was very important, like I said, on Little Fires Everywhere, to hire as many females as we could, to have a diverse crew. When we were going through the process with Hello Sunshine, we met so many DPs, we met so many directors. 2 out of 3 of our directors were female. So I think Hollywood is really trying to lead that charge, and I think whatever it is that you feel like you can do within your own company, you just have to, small changes create big changes. It's just the little baby steps that you can do.
And I do have to say, I want to acknowledge it is not always easy. It's always better, but it's not always easy. Even in producing Little Fires Everywhere, we had these moments where we realized, oh, there's a frame of reference that you're operating within as a company led by a white woman, and a frame of reference that I'm operating in as a company led by a black woman. And we have to figure out how to talk about this, because we're gonna have 2 different audiences tuning in to see the show, and we need to make sure that our product reflects those eyeballs and is speaking out of both of our authenticity. So it's really exciting, but it does require a level of humility, I think. I would say also you could watch American Son November 1st on Netflix, because if you continue to support product that's created by women of color, then we have the opportunity to create more product by diverse creators. And I think I would also say, being willing to go outside your comfort zone and asking yourself what that looks like in order to grow your business. and to trust. I mean, I always say I'm given a lot of credit for the success of Scandal, but one of the most important people who allowed for Scandal to be a success was Tony Goldwyn. I don't know how many Scandal watchers are here, but he's the actor who played Fitzgerald Grant III, and he was my co-star. This was not common. You know, before Scandal aired, it had been 40 years since a black woman had been the lead of a network drama, and Tony never minded playing second to my first. He never minded that I was the lead of the show. He was a person who was accustomed to being the lead, accustomed to having an executive role on set as a producer, as a director, as a lead actor, but he was happy to allow me to take that position of leadership because he understood that it allowed for a story to be told that had never been told in this way. And in doing that, it allowed for us to have a show that was unique and offered up a unique voice in the world. So in his role as a straight, white, cisgender, privileged man, he allowed leadership to look like somebody other than him so that he could be part of a success and we could all succeed together. So I think there's a lot to learn, not just from what I did at Scandal, but from what the people around me did to lift me up and allow me to lead.
All right. And we'll leave it there. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.